here we have this tree. Looks like this tree has roots that go so deep into the ground, so far out to the ground. This tree's roots can go just as far as the front to the front of the property. I want you to observe what is on the bark of this tree. You see how this tree has moss growing on there. This tree looks like that yellowish is a little bit of fungus, which is not good. And we'll try to scrape that off. That tent is for the deers, so they could have a bigger shelter. And for the raccoons, sometimes they go in there. Okay, we're going to look over here at these other trees. We want to show you the difference between each tree. This tree, does this tree have less moss than that tree? Take a look. What do you think? Yes. Okay, so what do you think that means in life? So if this was a person, how would you compare this to a person's life? So you see, this one does have a little bit of problems here and there, but not as many problems as this tree over here. So we can put this out like the circumstances that you've gone through in an example. We can put this out of what nature caused or what others had caused, as the broken branch would be an example. So some trees are more prone to having problems than others. And each bark of the tree, as you will see, the bark of this tree has thin scrapes that go down. Now take a look at this one over here. So that other piece of that tree was thin. So what about this one? So this one's more spaced out, the bark of the tree. When you look at the bark of the tree, that's called the design of the tree. So every tree's design is different. So we're going to look at the stance of the tree. So the design represents our uniqueness, the way that we have created ourselves to be. We are what we say, what we think, and what we do. So now we're going to take a step back. Look. Dun, dun, dun. Little prince. Bless their heart. So now we're going to take a step back. As you can see, this tree had grew and is curved a little bit and goes straight up. What about this tree? Do you think this tree is the same? Or how about this tree? Let's look at all the trees here. I'm going to take a step back. So look at how this tree has grown slanted. But look at this tree. This tree grew straight forward, up. Everyone grows different. Some trees grow to understand where up is. Some trees grow slanted and crooked in their ways. Because in a sense, the tree could have been misguided to say that the highest points of the heavens is a little slanted upwards. So maybe they feel like the heavens is a little crooked. Now we'll take a look at the bark of this other tree here. When you look at these trees, you'll see each is size different. You'll see one tree has more moss on that side. This one does not have as much moss as this one. And in fact, this one has a fungus growing onto that tree. What type of trees are these, do you think? This is a hickory tree, for the ones that do not know. The other trees were elms trees. So we'll take a look at the way that some of the trees are close together. So as you see this fungus on this tree, and that tree will have to be taken down because of that fungus. Then take a look at this one. What's developing on this tree? The same thing that's on the what? On the other tree. Why do you think that is? Because everything affects another thing. So that's much like your words, your thoughts, your actions. You make an impact on other people. And if you try to spread these negative behaviors, it spreads like these funguses on this tree. So that's why it's important not to be negative, because you're practically infecting other people with negative behaviors. Just like these trees that are growing close together. So we're going to go a little further away from there. We're going to see if there's any fungus growing on these. Not really. It looks like this one's having problems. Now, these trees are historical trees. I want to keep these trees because this is proof that trees can communicate to each other. So we give this example. So I want to show you. This tree here is growing from the ground. Curves at the same curve as this tree here. So this is even more the shocking thing. Do you see how this tree had made this form here? This oval form? Look at this one. This tree made the oval form at approximate size of this one. Now take a look at this. Where this branch is growing, look at this. This branch grew. And this is a little above this one, but this branch grew like this one. And let's take a look at that curve. So as you can see, this curved and had a point at the top. Look at this one. This tree curved and had a point at the top that was cut off. This is what we call the twin trees. They're two different trees. They're not the same tree, but yet they're growing the same way, as though they could communicate to each other. So what is that an example of? That is a very good example that when you grow with someone, you become alike. And it looks like that other tree may be older than the other tree. So that tree could have guided the other tree on how to grow. And we can guide each other on how we can grow and shape into better people. Much like the twin trees. And here we have different types of trees. Some produce fruits, vegetables, but not vegetables. Vegetables is what you grow in the garden. Fruits is what's growing on the trees. So some, trying to find a pecan here. Oh, here's something other than a pecan, but this will do. What do you think this is here? An acorn. So which tree did this come from? This one here. You could tell this bark of the tree was different from the other barks of the tree. Was not. Some trees produce, but do you think this is enough to provide for people? No. What about an apple tree? When you see an apple tree, do you think that's enough to provide for people? Yes, absolutely. So, some trees produce more than others, correct? What do you think that fruit represents? The fruit represents the good that you put out to the world. Your words, your thoughts, your actions. So that means some produce more than others. Some trees do not bear fruit. What do you think that represents? That represents the people that are wicked in their ways, that are cruel in their ways. There's too many of these fruitless trees. There's not enough of these fruitful trees. I've heard there was a tactic that somebody once utilized to grow a fruitful tree onto a fruitless tree. What the person did is they cut into the tree, planted the seed into that tree, and then let the tree grow from the other tree. So that could represent being reborn. And when you are reborn, that means you are born again. You are 100%, not 50%, not 75%. You are 100% dedicated to being born again, living as a non-sinner. So that's when you have grown a tree onto that tree. Unless you were little and then you were just not even developed at all. And then not even, fully grown tree. And then once you was ready to be a fully grown tree, then you was able to produce fruits. But that's an example of if you was a child and you went through a lot of things, then your tree was not even growing enough to produce anything. And if anybody had went through trauma as a child, just know that your tree is not ruined, no matter what you went through, because you have the chance to grow. But when it comes to the wicked that are cruel in their ways and have grown their tree entirely and have become fruitless, you have a chance to be born again and to plant that born again seed into your tree to produce the fruit that you can produce. And this is the lesson with Kaylan, better known as Professor Cygnus and Angels. Some angels and iris, one human being. I know what it's beyond the sight you are seeing. We're doing very good, my miracles, my wonderful angels. And this was a lesson that ties in with a book from thousands of years ago called the Bible, saying, be fruitful, be pure, be good. And that was a book from thousands of years ago to be wise. We should be more evoluted by this point in time. And oh no, you all, it's about to rain, and look over here. That's our clothes on the clothing line. Da-da-da. No, that's not good. Now my clothes are going to get rained on.